Hey guys, I want to talk to you about doing Ptfe fuel lines and fittings. I know we've all probably done it. I'll show you on this car. We've all put in the braided hoses in there. It's rubber lined with braided on the outside, and at the time we thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But then we're finding out that these braided hoses are still rubber on the inside and they're breaking down. The down part about when the rubber breaks down inside the braided hose is we can't really repair it, so you have to replace whole sections of it. So thus the Ptfe, it's got a Teflon lining inside of it. Here, I'll show you a piece of it. Hold on. So here's a piece right here. This is poly tubing on the inside. So that's a Teflon lining. Then you have the braided on the outside. There you go. And then you have this other coating. I got the other coating because I want to keep it black and I want extra protection. So, but anyway, let me switch this phone around and show you this one. All right, you can see here in this setup I have a nice chrome AN fitting, but you have your braided line going into my fuel regulator, and AN fittings there, and then the fuel line runs all the way out back. It's a nice look. I mean, you can't deny it's pretty, but once again, it's rubber on the inside. So when it breaks down on the inside, it still squirts through that braided line. It won't rub itself a hole, but it will break down on the inside. The fuel is steadily breaking it down. But that's why I decided when I'm going to build the gasser, I'm going to use all of the Ptfe fuel line. It's a little more expensive, not going to lie to you. The braided hose isn't cheap, but the Ptfe is more. So I'm running about 16 foot of, let's go. I'm running about 16 foot from this motor to the back with all the turns and everything like that of Ptfe. A couple of fittings on there. I'll show you those fittings in a minute. It was probably I'm thinking right around the $400 mark to do it. So again, for peace of mind, I guess it's okay. So here's the Ptfe on there, the regulator, and then it runs down and it's strapped like it should be. I did find when I bought this car, they did a lot of wire ties. So every wire tie gets cut off as I go along. So, but anyway, there's the Ptfe, and I'll show you what they had on here. Alright, so here's a section of what they had. I mean, this is just rubber. I mean, it's just cheesy cheap. They had this running from the front to the back. And here's a piece of the Ptfe. A lot better. But yeah, this is just a small piece of it. And basically what you do is you put it in there, and it's a one-way deal. You put it in there, and you can't pull it out. Again, I don't trust it. It is fuel line, but I just don't trust it. So I'm glad to switch over. But I'll show you how easy it is to get your fittings on here. Okay, so here's how I do it. Put it in my clamp here, so it just keeps it nice and tight. And I spray it with a little WD-40. It helps it slide on. It makes everything so much easier. So here you have the fitting, bushing in the other end. So anyway, what I do is I get this one. Make sure this end is really clean so they can slide on. So see how easily that moves. Alright, then here's what I do. I take a tubing cutter and I'll put it on here, and I'll come back in, as you can see, probably about a ½ inch, 5/8. Snug it up till it cuts into the through the outer lining. And then I just take my razor knife and run it right along the edge. Just cut that out. And then open this up like so. And then what I do to expose the inner Ptfe tubing is I just take my screwdriver and put it between the braid and the vinyl, and just get it open as far as I can back, just so the furrow will fit in there nice. And here's the furrow. This is what you have. You want it, the front of this furrow has a little shoulder on it. You want it to fit flush and tight, just like that. Just like that. Now what I do, if I have a couple of scraggly pieces, this is where I think the difference is. I just cut a little bit of that off. I mean, not a whole lot. I just tighten it up a little bit, so when it goes back together, it goes together nice. Now what I'll do is I'll bring this right out here to have a little bit sticking out, and then I'll get my WD again. I'll put a little spray on it, and then I'll take the opposite, the male piece, stick it in like that, make sure it fits nice and tight, and then I'll put a little WD on my lube again. I mean on my fitting again. Now I'll pull with the back and hold this real tight. You want to keep sure all this stays mounted together, and I go back until you get right in there, and then screw this and pull back at the same time, just like that. And there, it's started. And like I say, I haven't stripped one out yet. So then you take your aluminum tool, your wrench, and tighten that up. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to lose this fitting here. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes because it's just a little tube. But that's on. That is in there. And I mean, literally, that was cake to do that. Let's see if I can take it. Yep. Unscrew it. Look at that. And stripped. That one got me on that point. There we go. Now I can reuse this for something I really need it on. But that's how I do it. Okay, you saw how easy it was. I hope I explained it right, and I hope you don't have problems doing it. I haven't lost any yet. So if you do it that way, use a lot of lubes, and I think the secret is cutting the ends, the sprayed. I don't think people are cutting them off. And like I say, pull back a little bit and push it, and just make sure it's good. It's like I haven't had one leak, or I haven't stripped one out. So those couplers are not cheap. The AN fittings, this is a -8. They're not cheap at all. So you don't want to be messing up. So take your time when you're doing them. After you do a bunch of them, then you go faster. But take your time, make sure everything's going right, just so you don't tear them up. On this car, I'm trying to build it on the budget. Okay. But what I'm not trying to do is not trying to build it where it's unsafe. So I'd rather spend the extra money on the fuel line and not have to worry about it down the road. I mean, the other blue line, all that stuff, none of it leaked. I mean, and it was on the car, but again, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I'm just working away from front to back, trying to get it safe and trying to get it race ready. I want to go fast, so I don't want to be worried about anything breaking and causing any injury. So thanks for checking in. If you have any questions, post below. We'll do a video on. If you have any questions about this, I'll do another video or a touch-up video on, any questions you might have on it. But there you go. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you next time.